Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers. James and Justin back again with another reaction video. And one thing we talk quite a bit on this channel is about lying. How that can be a big hindrance to your spiritual development, your growth moving forward. And so I thought maybe we could react to a video that talks about lying. So I found this interesting video done by TED. It's called The Language of Lying, and on the thumbnail it says how to spot a liar.
So let's take all that responsibility and project it onto other people, because they're the liars, never us.
Well, no, that's a good point, because it's very easy when watching these videos to kind of it says how to spot a liar, but how to, spot it within yourself, right?
Ooh,
so that's a good way to take this knowledge and find it within yourself.
It's like the most important person to know whether they're lying or not is you.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we'll start this up and then we'll meet you after the video.
Sorry, my phone died. It's nothing. I'm fine. These allegations are completely unfounded. The company was not aware of any wrongdoing. I love you. We hear anywhere from 10 to 200 lies a day, and we spent much of our history coming up with ways to detect them. From medieval torture devices to polygraphs, blood pressure and breathing monitors, voice stress analyzers, eye trackers, infrared brain scanners, and even the 400-pound electroencephalogram. But although such tools have worked under certain circumstances, most can be fooled with enough preparation, and none are considered reliable enough to even be admissible in court. But what if the problem is not with the techniques, but the underlying assumption that lying spurs physiological changes? What if we took a more direct approach, using communication science to analyze the lies themselves? On a psychological level, we lie partly to paint a better picture of ourselves, connecting our fantasies to the person we wish we were rather than the person we are. But while our brain is busy dreaming, it's letting plenty of signals slip by. Our conscious mind only controls about 5% of our cognitive function, including communication, while the other 95% occurs beyond our awareness. And according to the literature on reality monitoring, stories based on imagined experiences are qualitatively different from those based on real experiences. This suggests that creating a false story about a personal topic takes work and results in a different pattern of language use. A technology known as linguistic text analysis has helped to identify 4 such common patterns in the subconscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here. Second, liars tend to be more negative, because on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, "Sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing." Third, liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute. As a U.S. president once famously insisted, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." And finally, even though liars keep descriptions simple, they tend to use longer and more convoluted sentence structure, inserting unnecessary words and irrelevant but factual-sounding details in order to pad the lie. Another president confronted with a scandal proclaimed, "I can say categorically that this investigation indicates that no one on the White House staff, no one in this administration presently employed was involved in this very bizarre incident." Let's apply linguistic analysis to some famous examples. Take 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong. When comparing a 2005 interview in which he had denied taking performance-enhancing drugs to a 2013 interview in which he admitted it, his use of personal pronouns increased by nearly 3/4. Note the contrast between the following 2 quotes. First, "Okay, a guy in a Parisian laboratory opens up your sample, Jean-Francis so-and-so, and he tests it. And then you get a phone call from a newspaper that says, 'We found you to be positive 6 times for EPO.' Second, I lost myself in all of that. I'm sure there would be other people that couldn't handle it, but I certainly couldn't handle it, and I was used to controlling everything in my life. I controlled every outcome in my life. In his denial, Armstrong described a hypothetical situation focused on someone else, removing himself from the situation entirely. In his admission, he owns his statements, delving into his personal emotions and motivations. But the use of personal pronouns is just one indicator of deception. Let's look at another example from former Senator and U.S. presidential candidate John Edwards. I only know that the apparent father has said publicly that he is the father of the baby. I also have not been engaged in any activity of any description that requested, agreed to, or supported payments of any kind to the woman or to the apparent father of the baby. Not only is that a pretty long-winded way to say, the baby isn't mine, but Edwards never calls the other parties by name, instead saying, that baby, the woman, and the apparent father. Now let's see what he had to say when later admitting paternity. I am Quinn's father. I will do everything in my power to provide her with the love and support she deserves. The statement is short and direct, calling the child by name and addressing his role in her life. So how can you apply these lie-spotting techniques to your life? First, remember that many of the lies we encounter on a daily basis are far less serious than these examples, and may even be harmless. But it's still worthwhile to be aware of telltale clues like minimal self-references, negative language, simple explanations, and convoluted phrasing. It just might help you avoid an overvalued stock, an ineffective product, or even a terrible relationship.
That is categorically, diametrically, completely... No, I'm just kidding. That's actually really good information, all of it. I think you can apply it to yourself. I think you can use it to get an idea of who is lying to you, and I think you can use it on yourself. Like,
Catch yourself when you're talking.
well, I'm Captain Word Salad, right? Like, I'm always ranting and using all kinds of big words, balanced against some simple words, but... what was the other thing? I'm negative a lot. You know what I mean? But I don't... so I could use it and be like, well, where's that coming from? And the truth is, I would actually like to speak more simply, with less rantings and less content. There is something kind of weirdly deceptive about that.
When people... So it was saying that people who use complex language usually tend to skew towards lying.
Well, the point they were trying to make is that when somebody is lying, they'll complexify the statement so that you kind of get lost in what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do I say it without doing it? It's like, did you take the cupcake, yes or no?
Yeah.
Well, well, first of all, what's a cupcake?
Yeah, I was just thinking of Jordan Peterson.
Let's break down what a cupcake is here. And to be honest, some things, it's if you asked a quantum physicist to break down all of quantum physics to me like you would a 2-year-old, they'd be like, that's ridiculous, man. It's just complicated.
Yeah.
Some things are, some of us have capacities to do huge amounts of math in our mind. I can't. I'm not can do all kinds of quantification. I'm happy with the brain I have, but I'm saying, what is the simpler answer? How do we get right down to the truth quickly?
Yeah.
You can convey that without even language. You can convey what type of person you are with a look, really.
Yeah.
If you're bold and honest.
Definitely.
But if you're a liar, you probably, that's one of the tools in your belt, is to convolute things. And then the other thing is that negativity
that one really stuck
is
out
true
to me, yeah.
because that is your subconscious. Like, is everything cool and schmool? You ever seen somebody be real negative and it's like, man, you're really negative, and they're like, no, what are you talking about? I'm happy with my life. It's like, you just were projecting all kinds of negativity.
Well, it's a good tool for yourself if you catch yourself getting caught up on all the worries of the world and you're constantly taking it everywhere you go. That's a good, now I'm glad it pointed it out because it's not like I've never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I can now, take that knowledge and look and be like, James, what are you hiding within yourself? What are you not dealing with right now?
Bingo for you and bingo for me. But if you're going to be brave enough to be truthful, this is just a audit of the nature of lies, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of us are negative, and we try to mask it. You ever seen somebody smile at you and there's fire behind their eyes?
Yeah.
I'm wonderful. And they're, that's like an exaggerated version, but a lot of us have experienced something like that. Like, I'm getting intense fury vibes, even though you're smiling at me.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to be honest, then then I don't think that's being like, negative people lie. So when I go to this public event, I'm going to be positive. That's more lie. And the negativity will spill out. It'll manifest. It won't be able to. I think more truthful if somebody go, how you doing, would be to be like, I'm a little agitated. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're brave, you can start being honest in that way and be like, I don't know, I'm feeling a little down today. But that's okay. That's just it'll pass. In 5 minutes, I'll probably feel happy again. You know, that's how emotions work.
I feel like people are more apt to do that nowadays. I run into people who are like, they're not always going to be like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably that guy. But I see more people that are like, yeah, it's not a good, I'm not having a good day.
Well, in the one thing there, they said most lies you encounter are harmless. And I understand in some sense. They don't seem to have such an immediate harm to them. But my own take is that I know it's obsessive compulsive and it might drive you nuts. But I think the reality is that there is no harmless lies. I think that they're always a karmic outcome, even on the simplest things. You know, like
no matter what, there'll be a cause and effect, no matter what.
What is the classic thing? If your beloved comes out and they're wearing something and they go, does this make me look fat? And it actually does make them look fat. You're supposed to go, no, you look great. But I'm saying, wouldn't you rather have a ride or die person that you worked on the relationship, communicating with them enough that you could be like, honey, fat is the word you used. But if that's the word we're using, there's another dress. I can even help you figure out a better one. Let's not use that one. You know what I mean? And they can handle it. And they actually appreciate your honesty because you didn't send them off looking like a wrapped sausage. You know what I mean? Like, communication should be valued here. It depends on your level of development. If you're low enough on that bar, you're going to think lying is the only way to go. And if you're in dire straits enough, it really does seem like lying is what you have to do to survive. Yeah. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you're surrounded by wise people, and hopefully you don't feel as though you have to lie. Yeah. You know, to me, manners is lying in some sense. I know I'm not ready to just throw out manners. Yeah. I like when people say please and thank you, but if it's not real, if we manners ourselves into being masks instead of real people, something's gone wrong, in my opinion.
To be honest, I did not get the pronoun. What was the pronoun thing pointing to? If you say I too much or you use personal pronouns,
when somebody's lying and they're culpable in some kind of like misdeed,
they don't use the pronoun.
They distance themselves through their use of pronoun. They distance themselves in a number of ways, and pronouns can be in there. But it would be like, you know, like they use the example of the party. There was no party here. They didn't say I didn't have a party. I didn't have a party. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to be kind of bold to look someone in the eyes and be like, I didn't do that. But if you're like, I'm telling you, parties were not a thing that happened here. You know what I mean? You're like, why are you saying it so weird?
Your kids, when they don't take out, did you sort the recycling? I don't know.
The recycling was sorted.
It was, yeah.
What do you mean? I asked you if you did it. Don't do this to your kids. Don't shake your finger in their face. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. Like, that's a perfect example.
Anyway, this was a good video here. We learned a little bit more about lying, how we can all get a little bit more honest with each other, and hopefully you enjoyed our reaction on it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and everyone until next time,
stay spiritual.